Morning, Polly.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, we're good, thanks. Ready for another week, another day. I think we've worn the Beaminster team out, haven't we?
Yeah, well,
I'm
their
tempted.
stamina, their stamina isn't the same as ours, Chris.
I mean, this cricketing terms, 200 and out. They both make a grand appearance for number 200, and then they can't make 201.
Oh well, yeah. Well, it's at least us two.
Yeah, we'll keep the show on the road.
We will. Oh, Polly's just seen that Brian's arrived home, and so that's why she was gonna. I bet she'll dart off in a minute. Here we go.
Is
Who
this
is
going
it?
to
Who
involve
is it?
treats? Does Brian coming home involve treats?
No, it's just his whole presence is a treat. So he's now surveying a tree in the garden.
Oh, I wish Julie would say that my whole presence was a treat.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what Polly thinks. I'm not saying that's what I think.
I think we ought to change subject rather quickly, didn't we? As you can see, dear viewer, Polly's attention is very focused.
Yeah, it's focused, and off she goes. Off she goes.
Off she goes.
Yeah.
And now, dear viewer, we can get on with Rev Chat.
Oh yes. So it's we're coming up to the third Sunday of Advent.
Yeah, I wonder what subject we could be talking about.
I wonder. Oh, there's Brian. Hello, Brian.
Morning, Brian.
Hi.
You're our guest appearance on Rev Chat today.
Oh, I feel honoured.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. Polly's been very much looking forward to you arriving.
Yeah, I'm going to take out now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yes. So, well, it is Gaudete. It is the Joy Week.
Well, it is, and I got my rose-coloured stole already.
Have you? I haven't got a rose-coloured stole. Oh, have you got it to hand?
I can do if you bear with me.
Oh, I think we should see it, Chris. Yeah. How exciting.
Oh, I hope the suspense is building.
The suspense is palpable.
Shall I even put it on?
Oh, yes, please. Oh, let's have a look. Let's see the. Oh, you look pretty in pink.
There you go.
That is lovely.
Look,
so have you got a rose chasuble as well?
No, I haven't. I only got this one because when I was a curate, I had my purple stole on, and I said it should be rose today, but I don't have a rose stole. And somebody in the congregation walked up and said, "I will buy you a rose-coloured stole."
Oh gosh, that's adoration.
And the next week, he turned up with some money to go and buy a rose-coloured stole. And
Wow.
he basically said, "Look, I'm a retired High Court judge. I know how expensive vestments are."
Gosh.
So
wow.
I think of him every year on the third Sunday in Advent and the third Sunday in Lent.
Yes. So gosh, well, I think when I was a curate, we did have rose-coloured vestments, which always looked better on my colleague, who was a man, than they did on me.
And we are in the right archdeaconry, aren't we? Because Sherborne Abbey is famous for its rose-coloured vestments.
Oh, yes. Wow. Well, I think I probably got some at St. Swithin's. I don't think we've got them anywhere else. Well, we might have a Bradpole, actually. Bradpole have got lots of vestments, but no, it will just be purple. We've got a rose-coloured candle, but not vestments in St. Mary's. But probably at St. Swithin's, they will be swishing around in pink.
Good for St. Swithin's.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'd lend you their pink for the other services.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they might do. we have borrowed things before, because they've got such a lot there. But yeah. Oh,
Well,
gosh,
there we
wow.
go. We're on rose-coloured. Gaudete, a little bit of joy in the middle of Advent. A glimpse of the glory of Christmas, which is why we've toned the purple's toned down.
Yeah. But we're still listening to John the Baptist, nonetheless.
But we're still listening to John the Baptist. Shall we have a pause, and then I will do our reading? Our reading today is from John's Gospel, chapter 1. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light. He came to testify to the light. This is the testimony given by John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny it, but confessed, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you a prophet?" He answered, "No." Then they said to him, "Who are you? Let us have an answer for those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of the Lord.' As the prophet Isaiah said." Now, they had been sent from the Pharisees, and they asked him, "Why then are you baptizing if you are neither the Messiah, nor Elijah, nor the prophet?" John answered, "I baptize with water. Among you stands one whom you do not know, the one who is coming after me. I am not worthy to untie the thong of his sandal." This took place in Bethany, across the Jordan, where John was baptizing.
Mm.
There we go. Well, there's the first thing I've been scuppered with.
Oh,
I've often said that John the Baptist was one of the last prophets because he was telling that Jesus was coming. And I've just read John the Baptist saying, "No, I am not a prophet."
he was just being modest. I know he's not known for his modesty, but
How often have you said that John the Baptist was one of the last prophets?
yeah, I'd say that John the Baptist. I would stand by that. I'd say, yeah, I would. He's got all the attributes of a prophet: difficult, on the edge, railing, a voice crying out. Yeah.
So why do you think he said he wasn't?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he's making a distinction between the likes of Elijah and maybe he's saying, I'm not what you've known, but I am. We're coming into another age. I don't know. I mean, I noticed that actually when I read it too, and I had never noticed it before. But I guess I don't know if prophets often say that they're prophets. I don't know if they do actually. What do you think? Because it's a label that's put on people. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, we do get some. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to think of the examples. I suppose you've got the prediction of Sodom and Gomorrah that it's going to be demolished as words of the Lord.
But when these pronouncements are made, the person making them, the prophet making them, doesn't often say, "I am a prophet." I think it's almost maybe you see the role of a prophet in retrospect, in a way. I mean, you know, I was saying that I was at a meeting the other day with it was all about eco church, and you know, it's a struggle sometimes because we want to do the right things, and we want to kind of live by our Rocha standards, but sometimes we're on a journey there. And I was describing one of our really active eco church people as a prophet, and saying, you know, sometimes it's difficult to hear the message that they say, because it means we've got to change the way we do things. And so I suppose it was a bit flippant, but I guess sometimes it's only in retrospect that you see that. I don't know. I'm not sure, actually. It's a good question, Chris, which you could answer better than I.
It's a shame we haven't got, you know, Theologian Joe or
exactly,
or the intellect of the rural dean.
Exactly. We're floundering. We're floundering.
Well, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, like you say, prophets are often done in hindsight, but
well, it's an uncomfortable place to be. I mean, it isn't. I mean, I guess, you know, when you look at John the Baptist, he looks very secure. You know, he's got his locusts and honey and his, you know, his sort of weird apparel, but it isn't. It is a hard place to be, isn't it? On the edge, always saying things that are difficult.
And he's saying things which he thinks are coming from God.
Yeah.
You know, he's standing there saying, "I know Jesus is coming."
Mm.
You've got to be pretty confident to know that. You know, it's not oh, I'm a human being, I've studied the scripture, it's coming, and oh, actually, this guy that was born in Bethlehem, he matches the description.
Mm. Yeah.
The prophecy of John the Baptist here is actually much stronger than, well, I've studied this and that, and this is my conclusion.
Mm. Well, I guess it's not his words. He's speaking. I guess that's what prophets do. They speak the message of God. So, you know, I mean, we heard from John the Baptist last Sunday as well about making straight the path, and he's using the prophet Isaiah. So he's quoting Isaiah as he's using another prophet to make a message for that time.
Yeah, but you see, even Isaiah, it wasn't about he said there will be a specific person. It wasn't, oh, it's you.
No.
You know, and John the Baptist is saying, well, you got this prophecy that was written. When was Isaiah written? It was about 600 BC, wasn't it? If I remember, I can't quite remember. But you know, so a few hundred years earlier, there will be this person who comes, who is the son, the savior of the world.
Mm.
And John the Baptist saying, well, you know what the scripture says, which means he must have studied the scriptures to know what.
Yeah.
He's saying that he's here now.
Yeah.
You know, and John the Baptist baptized Jesus.
Yeah, and John is pointing away from himself and to Jesus. And I guess that's what prophets do. They do get attention because they're often coming out with sometimes often difficult things, but you know, things that grab attention. But they're not pointing to themselves; they're pointing.
So what's different between that, me and you, and any other vicar or any other Christian who goes to church? Because what's our task this week, next week, other than to point people towards Jesus?
Yeah.
Because we're not doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for Jesus because we want people to recognise that Jesus is in the world.
Mm.
So does that mean he's no more of a prophet than we are because we're doing the same thing?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't claim to be on a par with John the Baptist, but I
wouldn't either.
I think pointing the way. I think that's the responsibility of all of us, really.
Yeah.
I mean, in our diocese, this whole mission of making Jesus known is.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, it's so simple because that is actually what we should be doing all the time anyway. But so it's part of our faith to do that. I guess with a prophet, and whether John the Baptist says he's a prophet or not, they're sometimes saying difficult things to people, and they're often on the outside. They're on the edge of things. They're not in the middle. Are we on the edge?
Well, we're too sometimes I think maybe we're too compliant.
Yeah.
We're too much towing the line and not standing up and saying, "Hang on a minute, this is wrong." Get involved in politics for a minute. A guy committed suicide on the Bibi Stockholm the day of that vote to extradite, to send people to Rwanda.
Yeah.
And shouldn't we be marching in the streets saying this is just inhumane and cruel, the way we are treating other human beings?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know we've had there was an email from Bishop Karen about how many, the vicars of Portland are on the Bibi Stockholm as chaplains and working with the people and trying to provide them some hope.
Yeah.
That's getting on the edge. It's easy to go to our own little churches and worship God and not get out there and be on the edge with difficult stuff.
Well, we could just, I guess, our worship and our preaching and our life of faith needs to be in this world, doesn't it? We need to be aware of what's going on around us, like you say about what's happening at Portland Port. I mean, the reports yesterday, it was interesting. They interviewed lots of people in the paper I read, and a lot of them said, "Oh yeah, we thought these people coming would be trouble, and they're not." And even the people that had been very unwelcoming. I mean, no one wants it there, but for different reasons. And there was a real sense in this article I read that people were just really saddened and shocked, whatever their views about immigration and refugees and all of that, because a life had been lost, and people that live around there, and I used to live around there, see these people and see them as human beings whose lives are very difficult. So I guess maybe going back to John, he was set in a particular time and he was using the words of Isaiah for that time, but he was also asking people to look to what was coming and to be getting ready for what was coming. And I guess that's what we're a small part of doing that, I guess. Not just us, but all of us.
Well, we're all here to promote, like you say, Easter's only, less than 2 weeks and a half away now. And, we celebrate the birth of the baby Jesus. And we're all here just to say, actually, remember Jesus. And we've got our congregations to remind people that Jesus was here. I had a lovely email this week. I was organising readers for a carol service, and I got somebody to come and read. I asked if they'd come and do a reading with their little toddler. And they said, yeah, we want to come to church because I want my little one to grow up and know the Christmas story. And that was somebody who doesn't normally come to church. But it's a rather nice thought, actually. We often seek and get upset that people don't have the deepest of commitments to Jesus. But I think so many people have this thought, you know what, we know there's something we sort of believe, but we don't really know what we believe. And the other conversation I had last week was with a lady who started coming to church in the last 12 months. She said, I wanted to go to church for several years. I've been thinking about it, but I didn't really know how to. I wasn't really confident enough to go and meet in the midst of strange people.
Yeah.
And again, that's our job. Maybe that's our challenge, actually, is, dear viewer, if you've been thinking you might want to go to church, maybe you listen to this because you can do it from home safely. You never know. Step out the door, go to a carol service or a midnight mass or a Christingle or a nativity or carols in the pub. Go to something.
Mm.
I would
I think
hopefully think
it's
you're going to be welcomed.
it is a big challenge. When I mean, I didn't grow up going to church, and when I first went to church, when I met Brian, I went to church with him, and I found it. I mean, it was welcoming, but I found it like well, just a different culture. You know, I did find it quite overwhelming because we've got our own way of doing things, and so we do need to remember how difficult it is often to walk across the threshold. Because we've been doing this book, which Stick with Love, and Arun Arora, who wrote it, he's the Bishop of Kirkstall. He was saying that he grew up as his mum was a Hindu and his dad was a Sikh, and he became a Christian. Or didn't go down well at first, but he went to a Billy Graham rally in the 60s, and he he caught the faith, but it took him 2 years to go to church. And he said because he didn't know anyone who went to church, and he was a bit frightened about going inside. So it's pretty common for people to feel that going inside a church is a big ask.
Maybe that's a challenge for our other duviers who do go to church regularly, is don't be afraid to say, hey, if you want to come to church with me,
Yeah.
I'll pick you up.
Yeah, or even just talk about church, not just about the services, but about the life of the community of faith. You know, people do all sorts of things. I mean, a lot of people I know who've started being involved in a very peripheral way, which felt safe to them. And, everyone's different, but just talking about our life together, it's not just a Sunday thing, is it? It's lots of things that we do. And when the bishop came to see us in Bridport a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about making Jesus known, just about being open and talking to people. Most people are quite interested, actually. We are always a bit worried about overdoing it, but sometimes we underdo it. we don't say anything.
I think you're right. We shy away from it. We think people don't want to hear. I mean, I've probably had two extremes in my life. When I was in my early 20s, I used to get ridiculed rather a lot in a factory for it. For the Christian faith. And my answer when people just spoke to me, I goes, look, if you're asking the question because you want to take the mickey, don't bother. If you really want to know, I'll talk about it. And I did talk about it. Actually, I had several people who really wanted to know, and I got loads of examples of that. And then I go from that, obviously with our dog collar on, I go in the pub. There's always somebody who wants to talk to me. And be surprised how many people want to talk about churchy things and what church is like.
Yeah.
But it's providing a safe space where they can. I even had one person I was speaking to turn to the person next to me at the bar and go, Chris, don't you? Is he scary? And that's often a perception. We're scary.
Yeah, that is. I remember years ago when I was in Wyke, this wedding couple came to see me, and this bloke, the would-be husband, he was a huge bloke, young, but sort of, sort of like the builder of a bouncer in a nightclub or something. And he came in and he brought his mum with him. And then after we'd got talking, he said to me, "Yeah, I brought my mum because I was really frightened about coming to see you," which is sad, really. I guess often when people come to see us, there's something they want, and they're frightened that we're going to say no. And usually we say yes.
Well, we try and find a way of saying yes.
Yeah,
don't
we do. And but it's a shame, isn't it? But it's only when you make those relationships. I guess you've been in your community for what, about 6 or 7 years now?
6. Yeah.
Yeah. So over those 6 years, people will have got to know you, and it's broken down loads of barriers. I mean, I've been here just over 5 years. It takes a while, but all those times that we've come into contact with people for all sorts of reasons. Yes, it's a privilege, really. I think when I walk around Bridport and people there, they just know you, maybe in a very tenuous way, but I guess that's a good thing about wearing this, is that you're always seen.
Yeah, and everybody knows who we are.
Yeah.
Even if we then have to scratch our heads and thinking, I'm not quite sure who you are, but you obviously know me. And it is a badge that opens up a conversation.
Do you think this is our version of John the Baptist's weird garb then? Because
yeah, it's probably not quite as uncomfortable as camel's hair, is it?
No. I remember when I first went to Wyke, it was in May, and I was doing the Christian Aid collection, and several people said, "Oh, that's a good gimmick," because they didn't know me because I'd only just arrived, and they thought that I'd got dressed up as a vicar in order to collect more money for Christian Aid. And I said, "No, I am the new priest." And they went, "Yeah." They didn't believe me.
So we have a great message there from John, I think. I am the voice of crying, make straight the way of the Lord. People heard him and they came to him.
Did. Yeah,
they followed him, and he was on the edge. But all he did was point to Jesus. And dear viewer, 10 days' time, or however many, it's the 14th of December today. So that's 11 days is Christmas Day. May we be the ones on this Zoom recording, this Rev chat, to say, we point towards Jesus, the best news in the world, the peace of the world. And if Jesus doesn't point to peace, we're not preaching him correctly.
Yeah, well said.
So I hope you found that worth listening to. We will see you next week, which I guess will be edition 202.
Oh, yes.
The numbers are creeping up, and welcome from wherever in the world you're listening to. We won't tell you where we are on social media and websites and Facebooks, because if you found us, you found us.
And a special hello to this lovely lady I met on Tuesday night at the carol service for Colfox School, who said that she did watch Rev Chat, and I didn't get her name, but she was really nice. Special
hello.
Hello.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, one and all. We shall see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Take care, Deb.
Bye.
Bye.